I call the Honourable Member Moana Maki.
Thank you, Mr Chair. And it's what a waste of Parliament's time this piece of legislation is. This could be called the Employment Relations What a Waste of Time Amendment Bill, because that's what it is. And what is it about this national government that the only things they want to fix are non-existent problems? They don't want to fix all the actual problems that are out there. The fact that workers cannot get pay rises, that there are no jobs. They can't fix those problems. They have no plan. So what do? They say, well, let's fix non-existent problems, such as the requirement for unions to hold a secret ballot when workers want to strike. And we shouldn't be surprised, because the member in charge of this bill, Tauhe Nari, is widely regarded as the worst union organiser in the history of the universe. A title he wears with pride. So this is a little bit of revenge. Maybe this is the Employment Relations Tauhe Nari's revenge amendment bill, because Toe's last stand, as my colleague Jacinda Ardern says. And I think there's an element of truth in that, because this bill does nothing except wrap people up in red tape and bureaucracy and cost, time-consuming cost, all of which they're meant to hate, because Tauhe Nari wants his revenge. Well, the fact is, we don't need this bill, because unions already have within their rules the allowance for secret ballots where appropriate. And why does this national party feel the need to interfere in a relationship between unions and their members, unions and their members, who have democratically decided how they will determine when they strike and when they don't, when secret ballots are held and when they're not? Why does the National Party feel that they need to interfere in that relationship?
That's right.
Why do they need to get involved? Because there is no problem here. There's no outcry from workers who are being forced to strike when they don't want to. Secret ballots are held all the time, as Mr Henare would know if he wasn't the worst union organiser in the history of the universe. Or maybe he does know. Maybe he doesn't care. I don't know. But the fact is, this is an utter waste of time. This is the Employment Relations Utter Waste of Time Amendment Bill. And that's quite a high bar, given some of the legislation we've seen coming from this national government in the area of employment relations. But this is absolutely pointless, because there is no problem. There is no outcry. This is just interfering by a government that has an ideological opposition to unions that they cannot get over, and who wants to divert attention away from the fact that they have no plan to address the actual problems facing New Zealand workers. The actual problems. Because if they had a plan, then maybe we would be here passing legislation that actually would make a difference in people's lives, instead of legislation that does nothing. Does nothing except impose huge costs. Because there are a number of employers in industries. Chris Tremaine, I think Toe wants to take a call and he's asking for your permission. There are a number of industries in New Zealand which are spread across the entire country. They're shift workers. It's entirely impractical for them to be able to call all their workers together for a secret ballot. It would impose huge cost. It just would not work at all. And so what Labor says is, let the unions sort that out with their members. Let them, that's the relationship where they can sort that out. Whatever their members want, they can democratically decide that. Because a one-size-fits-all approach of the kind that we're seeing in this ridiculous piece of legislation tonight is not going to work. It's not going to work. It's going to cost more, and it's going to do nothing. And my colleague Darian Fenton raised a very good point, which is, if we're going to do this, require this of unions, why are we not requiring it of shareholders when a company decides to lock their workers out? So why, on the flip side, are we not requiring all shareholders to have a secret ballot to say whether or not they agree? Because when a company decides to lock their workers out, that can have a very negative impact on the reputation of that company, and shareholders might well say, well, we want to have a say in that because we may not agree that locking these workers out is the right thing to do. Oh, but no, we don't do that. We don't do that at all, because it's only the unions that Mr Henare has in his sights.
I call the honourable member Chris Farfoe to